Hey everybody, Lou here, and I just want to talk to you about the HBO series Chernobyl. Now, a few things actually scare me. As I mentioned in a video prior to this one of them is nuclear war, and the other being, plague, disease, fate, stuff I can't control. Anyway, this series is based on the actual events that happened in Pripyat, pretty sure I'm messing that up, Ukraine, which was under the larger Iron Curtain of the Soviet Union. So Russia controlled Ukraine at this point, and basically it was a catastrophic disaster. I mean, on like level 101. So basically, what happened? Um, April 26, 1986. One of the nuclear reactors in this Chernobyl power plant just burst, and you know I was surprised of the very mild reaction. Like, I mean, people were nervous. Obviously, it was a freaking explosion in the middle of a nuclear plant, and people were doing everything in the book, but from the depictions in the series, it looked like there was a lot of red tape even while the event happened. So yeah, a lot of not a lot of bosses. I just saw one particular character pretty much just go about saying, no, this isn't, happening, do it this way, on, and pretty much holding up, um, a lot of things that could have been, I guess, avoided. But, in the end, it was just a, crazy disaster. And this series does a great job of showing that and projecting that. So when things start, getting out of hand, the Russians call in this specialist, Valery Legazov. I'm pretty sure I'm messing up his name too. And another consultant named Boris. I'm not going to pronounce his last name because I'm looking at it and I just can't say it. But anyway, and these two bicker back and forth. One, is kind of wants to do things by the book, and the other one, Valerie, is, thinking outside the box. And this is exactly, what they need. But, see, in the 80s and before that, in communist Russia, they had this mentality like, if something goes wrong, it could be human error, but, in the end, maybe it wasn't. They'll kind of point a finger at everyone else and, not themselves, or they just, totally ignore it. But, it's scary, and the lack of urgency that the, Soviet government kind of went about, and even though this guy, the specialist did his best to warn these people, and, finally they started taking his advice, and it, between the first episodes, show you all the countermeasures they do. But the flip side also to that is the outcome of the rescue workers, the workers that were inside the plant, and it shows you the effects of radiation poisoning. And let me tell you, it's like, Ebola times 10. The Ebola virus kind of, melts your insides. Well, this radiation poisoning slowly deteriorates your, like, entire body. It's gross. Like, look it up. And, like, the firefighters, all the response teams, the military, the freaking helicopter pilots, the ones who are far enough, thinking they're, avoiding danger, wind up getting cancer, and die. It's, people that were even, I mean, like, I'm talking, like, miles away from this thing, just from the reactor keep, blowing out radiation, radioactive material, all got cancer and died, so not too many survivors. I mean, some did, which is like a freaking miracle, and some people, died very horrible deaths. But it also shows you, when people come together and kind of risk their lives for the greater good. You see a lot of that in this. And from what I'm told, this actually went down. People risked their lives. Obviously, the level of protection wasn't as good as it is today, and a lot of people sacrifice themselves because it's like, pretty much signing up a death sentence. I mean, I heard stories and seen it during the episodes of, people actually making it out alive. I mean, I don't know If they're still kicking around today, I don't know. But it looks like a lot of people died of cancer and other, you know, radioactive exposure, and it was just bad, crazy disaster. And thank God, they kind of acted when they did, because if this, nuclear power plant would have kept going on, it would have looked really bad. And not just that, I mean, I'm talking miles and oceans surrounding Russia and Eastern Europe, and just any connected basin to Russia in general, any border town would have definitely got some heavy dosage of radiation. In fact, it did. A lot of heavy winds and weather complications spread radioactive material everywhere. Not as intense as the blast site, but yeah, I mean, people were, response teams were using their Geiger counters, which detect radiation level, and it was pretty far away from the blast site. So, despite the delays, if they didn't act, and have this sense of urgency that the specialist had, and he kind of conveyed that slowly, but convinced the higher ups, the president of Russia and the Ministry of Defense and all the big shots, that listen, we need to act right away. Who cares who did what and who messed up? We need to do this right now, and then we can worry about it. And they did, and I think from that, he probably saved a lot more lives. Sadly, this guy I'm talking about, the specialist, Valery, he actually committed suicide because of the, just bureaucracy that the Soviet government and the pressure they put on him. He probably would have been taken out by the KGB. I don't know. It's my speculation. But, they were known to, silence people who kind of, like, overstepped the government. That's just kind of how it was. They were boss back then, let me tell you. But, yeah, great series. It's on HBO. It's a mini-series. There's, like, 5 episodes, I think, and definitely worth watching. Now, this was kind of, not quite, but kind of post Game of Thrones, so it was on maybe, the last couple episodes of as Game of Thrones was winding down, this series, Chernobyl, was winding up. But yeah, the cast is mostly British speaking. It's obviously takes place in Russia, the Ukraine, but I don't know, I guess it's hard to get, like actual Russian workers or actors or whatever. But, they use actual locations and they intercut footage from the event that happened into the series, which is kind of cool. It brings a little more life to the story and legitimate scenery, which is awesome. But yeah, that's the only, I guess, like, distracting part is, the actors who are playing Russians are speaking, British, so. But whatever. That's just a minor thing. Other than that, how everything went down, the drama and the sense of urgency in the entire series is pretty cool. If you're unfamiliar with the event, you should definitely check it up if you need, but you really don't need backstory, because this kind of lays it out to you from beginning, middle, and end. And this is just, a small thing and still relevant to today. This whole nuclear business. Shoot, not too long ago in Japan, because of, like, tsunamis and storms, it knocked out one of their, nuclear plants, and the radiation got so bad it didn't just, contaminate the area, but it spread across the Pacific to the shores of California. So I just going to show you. Despite the progress, radiation could do, it's still a very dangerous, energy source. I'm not one of them crazy, go green kind of guys, but I definitely see where they're coming from. And if we don't have, like, better control or better countermeasures, which we do, but I definitely think we should be a little more cautious, and maybe, in the meantime, try and find an alternative to, radioactive energy, nuclear energy. I mean, I know, like I said, the benefits and the probably cost isn't as much as, all the natural green stuff, but in the long run, if you want to prolong life, I think cutting the radiation in half is definitely up there, with longevity and, living your life to the fullest. Because, just seeing what, the destruction and the aftermath. To this day, you can't visit certain parts of the Ukraine. It's not completely off limits. I mean, you could go there and check it out yourself, but your time's limited, and just the exposure risk and the mutations. Whatever animals, or humans it didn't kill, the radiation, it mutated, and it's not pretty. I'm not talking like X-Men mutation here. You get no powers. You get really sick. You get disfigured, and then you die. That's what nuclear energy at its worst. What happens. Just go look it up. You don't have to take my word for it. But yeah. Anyway, great series. It's full of drama. Really really dark drama, and you get a sensibility of what was going on in late 1980s Russia and how they dealt with natural disasters and who they point the fingers at. And yeah, it's just crazy to see something coming from the West to seeing how the that part of the East dealt with situations like that. I'm sure it wasn't all that offbeat and crazy. I'm sure that there was some kind of chain of command that had some kind of order, but for drama sense, and to make things interesting, obviously it's a series, so it has to have some kind of dramatization. um it definitely played on that, but what you get to see is actual events that went down, and a few selected good men um and women. There's a lady, she's a scientist, who was portrayed. I mean, she wasn't, involved in the whole thing. She was like a made-up character that represented the scientist that, worked to stabilize the situation. That was pretty much her character. And between Valerie and Yulana, they kind of teamed up and kind of saved the day, but at what cost? And it definitely shows. Everything wasn't peaches and cream, and it was a dark era for the Soviet Union. And I think I think it opened their eyes. I'm not sure if they kept that mentality, or just kind of put better security devices and just overall better structures to their nuclear facilities and forgot about it. But I don't know. Maybe they used it as a like I said, a wake up call, and decided to keep an eye on things, and not jump to conclusions, and just listen to what people have to say that are the specialists and know a thing or two about this situation. But yeah, that's my 2 cents. Like I said, the show's called Chernobyl. Definitely check it out. If you got nothing else to do, I think it's great. It'll definitely keep you interested and captivated. And yeah, it's cool. It's thrilling. It's like the horror elements are real because this actually happened, and it shows you. It doesn't pull no punches. Pretty much, it's straightforward, in your face, graphic. What an actual man-made natural disaster can do to people and the surroundings, and it isn't pretty. It's called disaster for a reason. And nuclear disaster, as we all know, is definitely probably the worst of that. It's definitely up there as far as a good series, miniseries anyway. And yeah, check it out. We'll definitely keep you interested. All right, guys. Thanks for listening, and until next time, peace.